Hey everyone, Tony George, DocSports.com, a Week 5 NFL opening line report. These are not handicapped picks or something that we're making major moves on. These are initial reactions to what I see on the opening lines, which I've looked at a little bit on Monday. We're coming to you on Tuesday here. We're going to be doing a live chat with these NFL opening line reports, but I didn't get around to doing it today. As you can see, the lighting is terrible in here because we have a very cloudy and dreary day. Rare in Las Vegas, but nonetheless, you'll get the point across here. Not my best week in the NFL this week. Matter of fact, my first losing Sunday of the season, my first loss with a top pick. I had the over in the Niners and Seattle game, and I lost my first teaser because I had Kansas City and Tennessee. So, who'd have thunk? Thought Tennessee laying that many on the road was too many, but I thought they would win the game. Oh, so nonetheless, we'll get it. We'll right the ship this weekend. As a matter of fact, as we're going through these games today, and I'm not going to tip my hand, but there's a possible game of the year in here this upcoming weekend on Sunday in the NFL on a very tough card. So that being said, these are just initial reactions, raw and candid, not handicapped yet, but me and you having a cup of coffee, taking a piss over a fence post, just talking about what we think about the opening lines in the NFL. Cheers. Let's get after it. Let's take a look at it here. We've got a Thursday night game, which is going to be a good one. Rams at Seattle here. Rams laying 1.5. The total's 54.5 right now. Rams off a pretty convincing loss. Seattle, boy, what kind of stock do you put in the fact that they beat the Niners? The Niners are beat up. They had quarterback problems during that game. I think Arizona established themselves as the best team in the NFC West right now. I think they're the only unbeaten team left in the NFL. Put up 37 against that defense is impressive. San Francisco, 7-point loser there to Seattle. Boy. That's a tough call, guys. That's a tough call. I think the Rams are probably the better team, but I'm not a big believer in going with, a short week, travel, and playing up to Seattle. But Seattle, they haven't played that well at home this year, and their defense is suspect, and I think maybe Rams can exploit it, at least out of the gate. Jets taking on Atlanta. Jets pulled off the big win this week. This game's in London. This game is Battle of Uglies. I really don't want anything to do with it. Falcons here are laying 3.5, total 46. My initial thought is to take the over. Side play's too close to call. I could only take the Jets. I can't lay points with Atlanta. Last week, they went 10 for 16 on third downs, and Ryan had 4 touchdown passes with no picks, and they still lost. I think there'll be some scoring there. Miami at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, flat spot, man. Laying 10, total 48. They're at home. Probably going to be a survivor pick of mine. I'm still alive in the circuit contest. I got to be careful who I use. As longer you get into the season with these survivor wins, remember you can't use those teams again. But coming off the Rams and then coming off the Patriots, it's a definite flat spot. Miami's just terrible right now. They can't do anything right. Brissett's not that good of a quarterback. If you look at the box score in that game, he had most of his passing yards in the fourth quarter kind of in garbage time. I think it's a tough spot for Tampa Bay, but I think they can win the game. 48's total's about right. I'm not laying 10 in the NFL to anybody. I'm just not going to do it. I know Bills last week, 40-0, laying 16-17, but not interested. Carolina, Philadelphia. Carolina laying 4, total 45. Uh, mm, mm. That defense really gave up a lot of yards last week, especially the run defense. They were number 1 in the league, and they sure didn't look like it last week, did they? They're not number 1 anymore. That game's almost too close to call. I'd kind of lean under in that one. Washington at New Orleans at Washington. Opening line was a pick'em and 43, and now it's New Orleans minus 1.5 and 44.5. Washington an over team this year, surprising with all the the preseason hype about their defense, and New Orleans a clear under team here. I think it's going to be a tight ball game. That's almost too close to call. I'd probably lean under if anything. Tennessee at Jacksonville. This look-ahead line in this game was 7.5, and now it's down to 4. And you got to worry about the 2 best wide receivers on the team with Jones and Brown possibly still being out for Tennessee. That is a huge deal, and you saw that rear its ugly head last week. Do I think that if you just gave Henry the ball 32 times, they could cover that number? Jacksonville having some off-field problems with, Coach Urban Meyer filling up 22-year-olds at a bar with his family next door. Crazy. He's looking like he just wants to quit that job. Jacksonville, good game, no turnovers on Thursday night, extra time to prepare. You would think they give him a ball game here. Total's 48.5. That might be a bit high, especially if Tennessee has to run the football a lot, which I think they will and eat clock. Might want to take a look at the under. Detroit, Minnesota. Minnesota laying 7.5. This opened at 8. Total 49. Detroit. I had Detroit last week. Thought they could really give Chicago a game. Maybe beat them straight up. I was wrong. Goff is not a good quarterback. No wonder the Rams got rid of him. Minnesota's got problems all over the place. They have no business laying 7.5 points to anybody. They got problems all over the place, especially on their defensive line. Can Detroit exploit it? I don't know. It's a lot easier defense to play again this week than the Chicago Bears. And they hung within 10 of them. I don't know. I could only take it. I couldn't lay it. Denver at Pittsburgh. Denver's got injury issues all over the place. Don't know whether Teddy Bridgewater is going to play or not. If Locke plays, is a definite take on Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh just couldn't look any worse than they did the other night. And most of it falls on Roethlisberger. It really does. He's playing terrible. He's absolutely playing terrible. The offensive line is terrible. Denver's defense is pretty damn good, but Denver is beat up. They've got potentially 8 starters out in this game. You want to keep an eye on this injury report going down the road this week. Total is 40.5. It's probably the lowest total on the board is Houston, New England, but that's right in there with them. As my line's just refreshed. 40, let me make sure now, 40.5 and Denver laying 1. Green Bay and Cincinnati. I've got this power rated at 3. Right now it's minus 3.5 even. Total 49.5. Green Bay. If you like Cincinnati, you want to get on them right now because 3.5 is not going to be hanging around. Cincinnati playing a good brand of football. They didn't look like it against Jacksonville. They've had some added time to prepare. I think they'll give Green Bay a ball game here. If anything, I might use Cincy in a teaser. New England, Houston, here's a teaser. New England minus 9, total 40.5. New England opened up at 7.5. Warranted, they should go up to 9. Houston's just a bad football team. I'd use New England in a teaser, total 40. But I think that's the lowest total on the board this week. That's because they don't think Houston's going to score. 27-10 ball game maybe? I don't know. Chicago at Las Vegas. Las Vegas opened 7. They're down to 4.5. They looked absolutely deplorable on Monday Night Football. And I had them. I thought they'd give them a game, and I put them out at 3.5 on the hook. And I thought that'd be worth something. It wasn't. You're kind of getting used to this kid out of Ohio State, a quarterback. Vegas 4.5, total 45.5. They're 5.5 at FanDuel, 5 at Westgate. 4.5 at BetMGM, Caesars, Circa. It's got them at 4.5 and 45.5. Take a look at the underdog. Cleveland at the Chargers. Chargers established themselves as right now the front runner in the AFC West. I mean, how can they not beat? They beat the Chiefs. They just beat the Raiders. So those are two teams that are better than Denver. And although they didn't beat Kansas City convincingly because Kansas City had 3 turnovers and gave them the ball game, at the end of the day, they walked away with a win. Herbert's a great quarterback. Eckler is a great, I hope he's on your fantasy team. Eckler's a great running back. They've got just killer wide receivers, big, tall wide receivers that can get open. This is a tough ball game to call. It's a pick 'em. 49.5 is the total. If anything, I'd lean under. New York Giants at Dallas. Dallas opened up at 8.5, down to 7. The Giants pulled one of the upsets of the week last week, took down the Saints, made a lot of room in the survivor pools last week for a lot of people. I'm not sold on the Giants yet, coming especially off back-to-back roadies and a huge upset win as an 8-point underdog. They always give Dallas fits, no doubt about it. Dallas is riding high right now. Their offense is high octane. Their defense is playing better than expected. Dallas in a teaser. Get them down to -1. San Francisco, Arizona. Arizona 5.5, total 50. Arizona opened up at 2.5 and 52.5. So the total dropped down 2.5 points, and the side play went up 3. Arizona looks unbeatable. San Francisco looks like they've got problems at quarterback again with Garoppolo hurt again. Trey Lance trying to find his way around. Arizona's defense is playing surprisingly well. I think that Kyler Murray is having an MVP year up to this point. They got weapons all over the place. I'm not sure San Francisco could trade punches with them on the scoreboard. I mean, San Francisco couldn't put up points against Seattle's defense last week, and Seattle's defense sucks. They'd given up 63 points and almost 1,000 yards in 2 games before they played San Francisco. San Francisco looked like a Tallahassee JUCO last week on offense, and they have no running game at all. How are you going to beat Arizona with no running game? Keep them off the field. You know, if you're going to lay a number with anybody, I've got 5.5s across the board, except at Westgate still at 5. I could only lean Arizona there. Buffalo, Kansas City. Kansas City opened up -4, 56. Right now it's 56.5 and -2.5 over. I think you're going to find out a lot about Kansas City this week. A lot about Kansas City. We know about Buffalo. I think you're going to find out a lot about Kansas. Remember, Buffalo went there last week in the AFC, last year in the AFC Championship game. Kansas City kicked their ass. You could see how far away Buffalo was from being an AFC title contender, where Kansas City is there. And they're still there despite a horrifically bad defense. They're going to have to trade punches on the scoreboard to beat Buffalo because they're not going to stop them. And that's what you're going to see here. Old Sunday night classic shootout. Colts at Baltimore, a Monday night football. Baltimore opened up at 6.5, total 49.5. The totals dropped down to 47 and -7. You really think there's a buy sign on Indianapolis here? I'd use Baltimore in a teaser with somebody on Sunday. I'm not getting near laying 7 on Monday Night Football, and I sure as hell ain't taking 7 with the Colts because, beating up on Miami, with Brissett at quarterback, Baltimore is just a whole different animal, and you never know what you're going to get with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. One of those guys who can make a bunch of huge plays, move the chains on third down. They can run the football. Denver doesn't like the fact they ran the ball in the last play of the game to get over 100 yards. Well, Denver played better defense, man. 43 games in a row they've had over 100 yards rushing. That gives you a lot of games in the NFL. Probably going to win them a game on Monday night, but right now I'm not willing to take 7. 47 seems about right. That's a tight line. You probably won't see me messing around on Monday Night Football this week. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in. These are just my initial reactions to the opening lines. We'll have football plays out on Thursday. Looks like we have a big 7-unit play in college football, at least a 7-unit play in the NFL of one of these games I discussed right here. Just didn't tip my hand. Free $60, link in the description below. Get over to Docs, check out all the action, the handicappers that we have. Thumbs up, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to get after them this week, week 5 in the NFL over at the website. Be sure to stop by.